All right, so we're going to go over some stuff here for Auto Club Speedway, California with the ARCA car. Running a fixed setup. We are running the default iRacing setup here. One of the things I want to go over is and I can't do it. All right, so I was going to show you what I was going to do that I did in the garage, but I'll just tell you. So this run is with 12-to-1 steering ratio, -9 lock and not lock, offset, and 60% brake. So that's different than what comes default. Sometimes I run default, but this particular track, the way it's set up, we're going to run 12-to-1, -9, and 60%. So with that being said, this is a bottom feeding track. Pretty much the whole run you run on the bottom of the racetrack. There's a late apex going into one. You can run the middle and you can run the high, but they kill your tires, especially the high line will kill your tires. So I would only recommend running them towards the end of the race or towards the end of a run, if you're trying to get by somebody and you can't clear them on the bottom. So with that, let's take a look at the qualifying lap. Let me get you in the car. There's a couple things I want to go over here. All right, so I got the sound working, and so we're going to take off here from pit road. It's important to note there's a couple things that we want to make sure that when we're doing a qualifying run here, that everything leads to itself. And what I mean by that is we're going to speed up here. We're going to get up to about third gear, and you're going to see that I'm holding it half throttle around the bottom of the apron here. The goal is not to slide your tires on the apron here or any point on lap 1, because you want to heat your tires up, but you don't want to overheat your tires up. So we're going to throw away lap 1 here just to get some heat in the tires. And what we're going to do is we're going to come down here, we're going to run a practice line into 3, but be very ginger. Again, not trying to slide the tires, not trying to overdrive the car. And then what we're going to do is do the same thing in the one here on the opening lap. I'm going to run down low, hit towards the apron here or the line, and come back up. You're going to note that white section right there on the line, on the wall. You want to make sure that when you come back up the racetrack that you are up to the fence when you get to that white line. You don't want to be getting to the fence past that or before that, because you'll be scrubbing speed off before it and scrubbing speed and missing your corner after. So going into 3 and 4 here on the first lap, coming to the white flag, we're going to run the high line here. We're going to make a nice easy high line so we get a nice huge run down the front stretch. We're going to come back down to the apron again, not on the apron, but down to the white line, right about the start-finish line. We're going to come back up again. We're going to hit that white line right there. We're going to start to turn in just past that fence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show, we're going to come back a little bit, right? So, okay. So this is where I'm talking about full throttle. We're going to full throttle all the way down here. We're going to actually start to turn in right about here. We're going to start turning down into the corner, and then I'm going to lift right about the 1 or right here, right when the 1 disappears off. Here's the 1 up here. So right before the 1, we lift and we continue to turn down into the corner, and then we do a late apex here, which is kind of past where you would think it would be, and then we're going to power through the apex and drive off the corner. Again, just to go through that particular corner, turn down, and we're still on the throttle, and then we use the throttle to help turn the car. If the car gets a little loose, you may come off the throttle, but you want to drive through it, get a good run down the back stretch, and then we're going to drive down the back stretch, and we're going to turn in right about the safer barrier, which is that line right there, that white line. We're going to start to turn down in, and right about that patch. Oops, hold on. You gotta bear with me with my controls. I'm not used to the controls here. All right, so there's a patch right here in the middle of the straightaway. And when you get to that patch, that's where you want to be, where you want to start lifting. So you see, we hit the patch, we start lifting. We float the car down to the bottom of the apex, and we're right back in it again as quickly as we can. out, use as much of the track as you possibly need to, and then you're going to come back down and you're going to run down the apron, and there's our line. 14.85, decent lap. Fastest I've seen so far is a 40.6. So 40.8 isn't too bad, but that would be your qualifying session right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and we're going to run through the whole thing just at speed. So here's the qualifying. I'm going to float up and drive down pretty deep down to the corner and lift, bring it down really late in the apex, and then pick up the throttle and drive through and off the corner. Again, lift a little bit if you need to, if you get a little loose. Otherwise, you're driving through, you're watching me really saw the wheel coming off. Then down the back stretch, same thing. We're going to arc it down in. We're going to hit that patch. We're going to lift, bring it down to the bottom, and then power through the corner, power through any looseness, use as much of the track as you need, and then come back down and hit the apron coming off of, or down the straightaway car to start finish line. So that is a lap of qualifying at California Speedway. All right, so now that qualifying's over, we're going to start a race. And it's very important to note that when you use a fixed setup that you don't race like you qualify. You really don't want to drive into the corner quite as hard as you do in qualifying, and vice versa. You actually want to try to drive out a little bit harder coming out of the corner. The reason why you want to do that is you actually want to try to get that car to come off the right rear coming out of the corner. You'll know you're on the right rear when the car gets a little bit loose coming out of the corner. If you're not getting loose out of the corner, you're not driving on the right rear, you're driving on the right front, and you're going to kill that right front during the stint. Most likely what you're doing is picking up the throttle too quickly or too hard, and all you'll need to do is probably just wait a second or two in the middle of the corner, or not pick up the throttle as much as you possibly can. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the second line. We're on coming on lap 11 here, which is my end of lap 11 coming 12, which is my 41.4. So this goes to my consistency that I was talking about in class. You're going to want to try to be as consistent as possible from lap to lap. As we go over our run here, of course it's going to slow down, and down here in lap 25 to 26 I was doing some stuff to kind of show you what was going on, but you can see from lap 10 to lap 24 I lose just about a second of time, but we're fairly consistent, especially through here with our laps. Kind of took a big hit here, and that's what kind of happens. You can run a little consistency here and then you take a big hit, and then you start to slow down, but as long as you can kind of keep consistent, that's a pretty good consistency level there. So we're going to come here, and this is a race pace lap here. So what we're doing is we're going to come here. You're going to see that I'm going to lift way earlier than I did prior to, right there. We're going to float down into the middle of the corner. We're going to pick up the throttle, and you're going to see that I'm even off the corner there. I'm not full throttle. I'm letting the car ride off that right rear, get a little loose, and then we're going to go down the back stretch. We're going to, again, lift well before that patch, float it down to the middle, and then we're going to try to get down to the bottom, pick up the throttle as much as we can, and again, we're going to drive off the right rear, try to get the car a little loose. We're going to go to the next lap here, which is lap 13, which is again another 105 down here. We're going to lift right there, which is way earlier than we did for qualifying, float it down to the bottom. And again, we're going to drive through as much as we can. See how we're getting loose off? That's good. We're driving off the right rear. Means we're going to burn up the right rear, not the right front. And we care more about the right front here at Auto Club Speedway, because that's where you're going to lose. You lose that right front, you're going to lose all your drive in, and that's where you're going to not be consistent. So let's drop down to, say, lap 20 here. See the difference. So it's a little bit later in the run. We're going to head down in the corner. We're going to lift real early, float it down. You'll see I actually hit the brake a little bit. It's okay to hit the brakes. or tap the brakes here. The reason why we have 60% rear brake in this car is so that when you do hit it, it tries to turn it. So if you feel like you can't get the car to the bottom, you're lifting and you feel like you're lifting and you're floating and everything's okay, but you still can't get to the car to the bottom, you see right there, hitting a little bit of brake. Hitting a little bit of brake will try to bring that car down a little bit in the corner, which is where we want to be. You want to make sure you're hitting the bottom of the racetrack every lap, as if that's where you're running. So that's basically laps around California. A couple of things I want to show you is that people always tend to tell me, oh, the car's too tight, the car's too tight. So let's go to lap 25 to show you what happens. So now I've shown you so far that you lift, let the car float down in the middle, and then you use partial throttle right to get to the apex. And when you get to the apex, you try to mash the throttle as much as you can, get it loose coming off. But what happens when you get tight? Well, you get tight for one of two reasons. You're going way too deep into the corner, and you can't get the car to turn, so you're thinking it's tight. But if you get down in the corner, look, I mashed the throttle, what happens? Where am I? I'm so far up the racetrack, I actually have to lift to not hit the wall. So what I did there, and I want to go back, right? So instead of waiting for the car to hit the apex, I'm on the throttle big time, right? I'm coming down, and I'm so far into the throttle that I've pushed past the limit of the tires, and I'm up the racetrack. So instead of letting it float down there, letting it roll partial throttle to get through the corner and get it offset, I'm bury the throttle, and it takes me completely off the line, right? So that's 1 and 2 when you get tight like that. So let's go to lap 26. And what I did was another one of these down here to show you what happens when you get in the throttle down in 3 and 4. So if you're tight off, it's more often than not that you are trying to get to the throttle too early, like this. Oh my God, the car gets loose, it's out of control, it's up the racetrack. No bueno, not what you want to do. Like I said, you want to let the car partial throttle, let it roll through the corner, and then use the throttle and to get off the corner and get off on the right rear. If you're not doing that, then you're picking up the throttle too much. You need to partial throttle through the middle of the corner a little bit, down on the bottom, and partial throttle, and then nice and easy to full throttle off the racetrack. Lift off the throttle if you get a little bit too loose. Now, lap 27, which is, I believe, where we're coming to. This lap, I'm going to show you what the high line looks like, and that's when you come down in here, you're going to lift. You can, again, partial throttle. You're using this seam right here, I can talk, really, I can, as basically instead of running down here on this white line, you're going to be running up here on this seam right here as the bottom of your racetrack. What this allows you to do is, as you can see, as you get the full throttle pretty quickly, it gives you a huge run down the backstretch. So if you're trying to pass somebody, you might be able to get a good run off down the backstretch here, get under them going into the corner. If you're going to run high in 3 and 4, again, this seam right here, and you know, it's basically running like on the bottom, just up top. Again, you can get a good run. Use it more towards the end of the race if you're trying to get by somebody. If somebody's on the bottom and you just can't get them, you can try to run a high groove there and get a run down either straightaways. 1 and 2 works better than 3 and 4, but it's something you can use towards the end of the run. If you use it at the beginning of the run, you're going to kill your tires. So keep that in mind. There is another groove here that you can run at Auto Club Speedway. Again, this is good if somebody's running the bottom and you want to try to not run so high, but run a nice middle groove here where you're using this seam right here as your line. I get a little loose, which if you do run the middle of the racetrack, is going to be looser than either top or bottom, believe it or not. So I'm going to show you again real quick in 3 and 4. Again, we're going to come down here. We're going to run this seam right here. Basically the same as running the bottom, just up there, and again, it's a little bit looser. So that's basically California. Like I said, it's a bottom feeding racetrack. I always run the bottom pretty much the whole race. I don't usually run the top at all. There are guys that do that. That's really all I have as far as California, as tips and techniques or anything like that. So the last thing why I'm going to run through here is real quick, just entering pit road. And I actually entered pit road here a little bit too soon, but you're going to head down the backstretch like normal. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go down into 3, kind of like we normally do. And then what we're looking for is that sign right there. You'll see. Oh, wait. Look at that. It's not even my last lap. Let's do that again. Around we go. We're going to enter into 3. We're going to do that like we normally do. And then I lift right here at that Auto Club sign, but you can actually go a little bit further and deeper. Nice smooth transition into pit road right here. So that is Auto Club Speedway. All right, so one thing I am shipping with you guys is the best lap file. So in order to look at your best lap, you could do this while you're actually in a race or a test session or just looking at a replay. So we're gonna go to options and then options tab. And then right here under split time delta comparison, we're gonna load. And then what's gonna happen, and because I don't actually have it on this computer, you're gonna see that file right here. You can double click on it and then hit open. And then what you want to do is lap data comparison lap, and then you'll see that you're doing a comparison. And then you want to make sure that you put on your delta bar, which you could do by hitting your tab or just right here, checking right there, and that will show you. So now as you're driving around, it'll compare you driving to that best practices or best lap file. So when you download the file, you're going to want to put it in your My Documents right here, iRacing, lap files, and then find the actual track that you're at. You put it in here. When you put it in there, when you hit that load button over here, it'll show up. And that's how you use the best lap. And again, when you do the best lap, make sure that you are lap data is being comparison lap and that you see it here. As long as you're done, you hit done and you're good to go. So good luck. Remember, practice Sunday night, race on Tuesday. Everybody have a good luck. If you have any questions, hit me up.